What's up guys, my name is Ace, and today I wanted to talk a little bit about skill-based matchmaking based on the first weekend of the beta for Modern Warfare. This is a topic that has absolutely exploded on the internet, mainly because of a video done by Sour Patch Adults, or I think he just calls himself Sour now. Excellent YouTuber. I really like the stuff that he does. He does really analytical content similar to myself. Of course, I will leave a link to the video that I'm talking about down below in the description, and I encourage you guys to check that out. But in this video, he was showing that if you reverse boosted in the first weekend of the beta for Modern Warfare, you would end up in lobbies with people that honestly look to be worse than recruit bots. And I'm not trying to make fun of these people at all, but it was really clear that that was their skill level within that lobby. And it wasn't just like the odd player in those lobbies, it was every person in that lobby. Looks like they have never played a first-person shooter before. They had just picked up the controller for the first time, and it was a very clear night and day difference. Now, on top of this, there's been a ton of anecdotal evidence within the community. A lot of people on Twitter, really good players, professional players, saying that their lobbies feel so sweaty, which generally means you're playing against people that are very good, just like yourself, because you're also a sweat. Which I never really understood the whole term of sweaty. It's like, yeah, they're really good players, you are also a very good player, and they were playing against each other constantly. Now, that evidence within the community, that is just anecdotal, and you can't really take anecdotal evidence too seriously. The video by Sour, though, that was the first realistic sort of a test, like a proper test of reverse boosting, and it does show that reverse boosting definitely helps. But at the same time, it wasn't the most scientific video ever there, and Sour actually admits this. I don't think he realized how much this video was going to blow up and how much the community was going to run with this. He actually said on Twitter that he did not intend for this to be the case. But in either case, it did pretty clearly show that you can reverse boost to get into these types of a lobby. So clearly there is skill-based matchmaking to some extent in Modern Warfare, but I mean, there always has been some level of skill-based matchmaking, and something the Drifter has pointed out on Twitter. I don't know if he'll have his video out by the time this one is out. This is all pre-recorded stuff because I've got some stuff to take care of today. They do have this sort of skill-based matchmaking where there's sort of a protected bracket of players that are like the bottom 10% or the bottom 5% of players that really need a helping hand. But then the speculation is beyond that, there isn't any sort of strict skill-based matchmaking. At this point, there really isn't solid proof on either side of that. Like, we don't know if the best players for sure are being put in a bracket with only the best players in the game, but it very well could be the case. So in this video, I actually don't feel comfortable taking a stance on either side of this, simply because I don't feel there's enough proper evidence at this point. So I'm not going to say there's definitely not strong skill-based matchmaking that is putting the best players against all of the best players, because that definitely could be the case. And there's a lot of anecdotal evidence that points to that, but it is anecdotal evidence. So at the same time, I'm not going to be here telling you guys that yes, there is super strong skill-based matchmaking, get your pitchforks out, get after Infinity Ward, because there isn't enough proper evidence to suggest that. Now, I will tell you guys my experience with the beta. I didn't really see any strong personal evidence of this strict skill-based matchmaking. However, my experience could have easily been affected by the fact that throughout this beta, in between games where I'm going for gameplays or I'm live streaming and stuff, I was also doing a lot of weapon and attachment testing, which does require me to basically sit at the back of the map, do my recoil test, change attachment, kill myself, do it again, and just doing that repetitively. So in a way, I was inadvertently reverse boosting to an extent, but not to an extreme extent where it would put me in those bracket of players where they had absolutely no idea what they were doing. More so, it seems like if there is this strict skill-based matchmaking system, I was doing enough of this inadvertent reverse boosting to bring me down to the pool of average players where I wouldn't really notice skill-based matchmaking because it's just a bunch of average players, just like you'd expect if it was randomized. So you might be wondering, well, what's the point of making this video if you aren't going to take a side? The main point I wanted to make with this video is regardless of whether or not there is strict skill-based matchmaking, it's in the community's head at this point, and it is a huge deal. This is all over Reddit. There are a ton of people absolutely freaking out about this. And like I said, regardless of the fact of whether or not there is strict skill-based matchmaking aside from this protected pool of players, Infinity Ward needs to get on top of this, and they need to address this. This is the type of thing where even if there isn't strict skill-based matchmaking beyond that protected pool, If somebody believes that it's there, this can be a really big problem because now in their head, anytime they have a bad game or anytime they die, they can blame that on the developers because it's just due to strict skill-based matchmaking and they're playing a much harder game than the average player is playing and it's not fair, and nuke streaks are now going to be impossible to get because of strict skill-based matchmaking. And any YouTubers out there or streamers that are dropping nukes or having good games, they must be reverse boosting for it and cheating. When in reality, there may not actually be that strict skill-based matchmaking system at all. This is something that at this point the community will need some clarity on. Otherwise, for a lot of those people, they will always have that doubt in their mind. They'll always have that excuse ready to go. And this could be disastrous for the community's perception of the game overall. Honestly, if they don't address this, that's going to be in the back of my mind as well. I'm going to be constantly questioning, like, am I really not good enough to get this nuke right now? Or is the game actively putting me in more difficult lobbies against similarly skilled players so that I'm unable to get the nuke and it's nothing to do with my lack of skill? So I really hope we do get some form of a proper official community post talking about skill-based matchmaking with at least some depth and detail behind it. Who knows, with how much this is blown up in the community, maybe even by the time this video goes live, there will be some sort of acknowledgement from the developers, but I guess we'll just have to wait and see. Now, as for my stance on skill-based matchmaking, I did cover this in a video a couple weeks ago, but not many people were really interested in the topic at that time, so I will be repeating myself a lot here for those that missed it. I'm personally against strict skill-based matchmaking in public matches. However, I'm also not opposed to the idea of sheltering newer players when they first get into the game for a limited period of time. So I'm talking like a boot camp playlist for people that are between like level 1 and 20 or 1 and 30, for instance, where only those players can access it. You can mix like bots into those lobbies as well, make it so you can't complete challenges within those lobbies. And once you reach a certain level, then you no longer have access to that and you're now thrown in with everybody else. That would give new players a chance to get a feel for the mechanics and the weapons and find their preferred sort of setups in a more safe environment that wouldn't scare them away from the game immediately. Because I do want the population to grow, I do want the game to be healthy, and if you throw brand new players that have never played Call of Duty before, if you throw them in with the wolves that have been playing Call of Duty for 10 plus years, there's a good chance they're not going to have a good time and they're just going to leave and never play the game again. So systems that shelter newer players for a limited period of time, I am 100% okay with in Call of Duty. But in general, after that, I think public matches should be completely mixed randomized lobbies that are based 100% on connection. Now, the reasons for this are pretty simple. First off, the connection thing. If you're in the highest tier of players, like the top 1%, and the game can only put you with the top 1% of players, it might have to search around a little bit to find those players. There's a good chance you're not going to find all of those players to fill a lobby within the data center that you have the best connection to. And there was a lot of anecdotal evidence this weekend where pro players, for instance, were ending up in lobbies that were not in the same continent as them. So if there is strict skill-based matchmaking that's causing that, that's definitely an issue. It could also be some other issue with matchmaking, but we really don't know because that's all happening behind the scenes. Additionally, a big reason I don't want to see strict skill-based matchmaking in public matches is we will also have access to ranked play. So those people that want to chase rank, they want a really competitive game every single time, that's where they go. They go to ranked playlists so they can grind their ranks. Going off of that same note, another reason I don't want strict skill-based matchmaking in public matches is if it's there, it's hidden, and therefore there's always that doubt. You don't know if you're the top 5% of players, the top 1% of players, or if you're in the bottom 50% of players and the games you're playing are so much easier than somebody that's in the top 10%. Strict skill-based matchmaking has no place in a game if the ranks are hidden from you. This brings us to the next reason I'm against strict skill-based matchmaking in public matches, and this is variety. When you are a very good player and you tend to play very well, strict skill-based matchmaking will put you against similarly skilled players that also tend to do very well. And when you get to those really high levels of play, there are certain tactics, strategies, and class setups that are essentially required to compete at that level and actually enjoy yourself. If you use anything off meta, if you play in a different way, you're probably not going to have a good time at all. For the average to below average players, they won't really notice this so much because when you're in the average bracket, you have a massive pool of players to play against, people that use a wide variety of weapons and setups and tactics and everything like that, so you get a really varied experience. That's not the experience that the top players will get. it would get really monotonous playing against the same type of people using the same types of class setups and the same types of tactics every single game. And if you don't match that, you won't find any success. Additionally, something I actually didn't mention in that previous skill-based matchmaking video is Call of Duty, and the success of Call of Duty has really been designed around the kill streak system. Those are the rewards. That's the reason a lot of people play the game. That's the carrot on the stick we chase. That's where we get our dopamine release from when we play Call of Duty. And the whole idea behind kill streaks is you try to get better at the game so you can get these kill streaks more consistently. If there's a strict skill-based matchmaking system in place, as you get better at the game just keeps bumping you up to a more strict tier, and therefore you're not earning these kill streaks any more consistently than you were before. So where's the incentive to improve? Also, at that point, why would you even have a nuke in the game? Because nobody'd be able to earn a nuke against an entire team of players that are the same skill level. That's just not gonna happen. Also, going back to the point of variety, this is something I always like to point out because people will say, oh, you just want to stomp on noobs all day, and that's not the case. I want variety in my gameplay experiences. Sometimes I really enjoy a super intense, highly competitive public match that goes right down to the wire. Maybe I win, maybe I lose. I really enjoy those types of games sometimes. On the other extreme, I do really enjoy every once in a while running into those quote-unquote god lobbies where you're significantly better than most of the people in the lobby and you're able to drop a nuke, for instance. But again, I wouldn't want that every single game. That would get boring and it wouldn't be a very special or rewarding experience in the long run. So this is why I don't want strict skill-based matchmaking. When you don't have that strict skill-based matchmaking, most of your lobbies are going to consist of average players. That's just how statistics works. You're going to have average players in there with some below average players, some above average players. Some lobbies will be easier, some lobbies will be more difficult on average, but you're going to get a mix of experiences, and I really like not knowing what you're going to get when you join a lobby. With strict skill-based matchmaking, you pretty much know exactly what you're going to get every time you get into a game. But in either case, I think that pretty much covers at least the main points I wanted to cover as to why I'm against any form of strict skill-based matchmaking in public matches. But of course, that's just my opinion. I'd like to know in the comments section below. First off, do you think there was strict skill-based matchmaking in the first weekend of the beta? And I'm talking beyond that initial protected group that Sour was running into with his testing. Additionally, are you for or against strict skill-based matchmaking in public matches in Call of Duty, and why or why not? If you enjoyed the video, a like rating is always appreciated, and don't forget to subscribe for more if you haven't already. I'll talk to you guys next time.
Yeah.